course, we will work with our Arab colleagues to move forward and to materialize, I think, a very fair goal for the Palestinians, which means to have its own state. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Muchas gracias.
Hearing from President Zelensky in terms of an update on the current situation vis-à-vis talks to enable a substantive ceasefire leading to a fair and lasting and sustainable peace. We've also worked on the wording in relation to the war in Gaza, deploring the shocking bombing that has occurred over the last 48 hours, leading to the deaths of so many innocent people, and these statements yesterday from Israeli leaders, particularly in terms of Minister Katz, seem to me to amount to collective punishment of the Palestinians within Gaza. It is quite shocking. It needs to stop, and Europe needs to say stop to the killing and to the slaughter that's going on in Gaza at the moment. We do also need a release of all hostages, and we need to move very quickly to phase 2 of the ceasefire, which was originally agreed and which should be complied with. There will also be discussions on competitiveness, and Ireland strongly favours expanding and strengthening the single market. Europe needs to work on what it can control to make Europe more competitive, particularly then also working on getting energy prices down, more investment in grid infrastructure across Europe, and that is important for European competitiveness, but also for European consumers and citizens. On defence, the white paper, I think, is a significant document. It will need further, obviously, discussion and reflection. There won't be a major reflection on it today because it was published yesterday, but nonetheless, following on from the proposals from the President of the Commission, the capacities are being created for Member States to allocate additional funding to increase defence expenditure in the Member States and security capability. And we've been supportive of the measures that the President has announced, the President of the Commission has announced. There are a lot of issues around procurement capacities within Europe and the capacity of the European defence industry to respond to this increased expenditure. And then on the broader economic front, obviously Europe will await what happens on April the 2nd in terms of any US decisions around tariffs, and Europe will give a bit of time to have a comprehensive response to that. Our view is that Europe has to be strategic in its response, and particularly where we enjoy surpluses and so on. So we need to put, but again, the wise thing to do is to await the full presentation from the US on April the 2nd, and then comprehensively respond.
There's some expectation,
Sorry?
There's some expectation that Ireland may have to provide up to at least €1 billion in support of the Ukraine in non-military, lethal military aid. Is that your expectation?
Not today, no. I mean, that's not on the agenda today. I think you're probably referring to the proposal from the High Representative Kaya, but I don't think that's for decision today, and there hasn't been agreement on that. I think what's on the table right now is essentially what was agreed by the members in respect of the Commission President's proposals and recommendations. Now, other proposals may come downstream. We've already taken a decision bilaterally to allocate aid to Ukraine for non-lethal assistance because of the freezing of the EPF by Hungary. And so therefore we're moving in bilateral channels now to allocate that aid to Ukraine.
On the Callas proposal.
Sorry?
On the Callas proposal, it's the 40 billion upper end of the scale. Do you believe that is realistic, or will it more likely be somewhere around 30 billion or something like that?
Again, it's early days on that. There hasn't been agreement on it. So it could be a lower figure, but I don't really want to speculate on something that's not firm. Clearly, I don't see agreement on it today, unless it's a much lower figure. Other member states have particular issues with it.
Just regarding the resumption of hostilities in Gaza, does that add a new impetus for the government to bring forward its alternative to the Occupied Territories Bill? And do you have an updated timeline on that?
Yeah, again, look, the government has agreed to progress it. One way or the other, I don't think it's going to impact on the immediate decisions of the Israeli government in respect of Gaza. I think that needs to be said. But what has to happen now, I think, is that as much pressure as possible from the European Union, US and others, is to say to Israel to stop this bombing. I mean, there was no warning. Many people had come back after the ceasefire to their homes in the expectation that they were going to experience some degree of peace and harmony. And that has been shattered by what appears to be very indiscriminate bombing of just, please, I'm going to make the point, indiscriminate bombing of Palestinian homes and families. And that's, like, one way or the other, the occupied territory isn't going to change that. But I think the Minister of Foreign Affairs is progressing it. A lot of the amendments have been worked on by the officials in the Department of Foreign Affairs. They will need. Obviously, it won't be before this session will end, but hopefully in the next session.
On tax issue, because you mentioned it there, the French Prime Minister said the EU was wrong to target bourbon.
Sorry?
The French Prime Minister said the EU was wrong to target bourbon in its retaliatory tariffs. Will you be talking to President Macron today about that, making a case for Irish whiskey? And just, are you aware of any pharma firms that are scenario planning to move their IP out of Ireland as a result of these tariffs?
No, I mean, first of all, medicine is a very key issue for European patients, for American patients. Cost of medicines are very high in the United States. Tariffs would even lead to higher prices for medicine in the United States. So I don't see the logic in that. There already has been substantial changes around pharma and so on. And if you look at the Guilty Act of 2017, which the United States brought in, the BEPS process which we signed up to, I mean, the transfers back to America are far greater than, say, 4 or 5 years ago in respect to royalties and IP and so on. Again, I think the sensible thing is to await what package is announced by the US on the 2nd. And what I said earlier about being strategic, obviously in certain areas we enjoy a significant surplus, such as in food like butter or alcohol and so on. But there's a broad range of sectors, and I think we need to be careful not to be dragged down every individual sector, and Europe needs to be unified in response. So therefore I think what's important is we see in the first instance, because no one actually has seen the package that the US may produce on the 2nd. And I think it's wise that Europe is giving itself some time after the 2nd of April to assess the EU package and then to wisely and strategically respond, and obviously endeavouring to protect all European industries insofar as we possibly can. Remember, European Union doesn't want tariffs. The European Union hasn't initiated any tariffs. And the European Union believes, and Ireland does as well, that tariffs are bad for business. They're bad for the consumer, they raise prices. It was very clear from my visit to the US, there's a lot of uncertainty in American companies who don't like tariffs either, and a lot of people are very worried about the impact on global trade and on the global economy overall.
And will the EU take anything off that list?
Yeah, we'll be engaging with the EU on it, and as I said, there's a range of issues, obviously, that will emerge and that will surface.
Okay. We know are going to increase prices for consumers.
Sorry?
We know that trade tariffs are going to increase prices for consumers, households and businesses at home. Are cost of living packages completely off the table still in terms of the budget?
Yeah, I mean, I think because of the challenging situation from a budget perspective, we have to be careful as well. And I think our focus on the budget will be on sustained provision within the existing estimates. I think there will not be cost of living packages as happened last year. And again, I don't want to preempt what will happen on April the 2nd. I don't want to preempt what our response will be to that either. Suffice to say that Europe will have to respond collectively ultimately. The Commission has exclusive competency on trade, but it has opened up for a public consultation. We've said to companies to make your submissions to that public consultation process. There will also be consultation between ourselves as governments and the Commission and talking to other governments as well in respect of any tariff scenarios that may play out. Mas féidirlum na méidir bhain mas féidirlum a rá gur tá clár cuimseach a going inmh ó scór an cóirla táimig ag feitheamh agus beidh sé samúil an méid a bheith le rá ag Uachtarán Zelensky as ach an cainteanna a bhí ag héin agus Uachtarán Trump sa Stáit Aontaithe agus mar aon lei sin beidh mise ag caint faoin cause Palestinian sa Gaza agus an méid damáiste agus is dochret inis an méid atá ag tarlúán an méid lenaí tá ag fáil bháis daoine bhcánta tá ag fáil bháis dochrete agus tá sé go thuúfásach ar fad agus caithimid stop a chur leis caithigh Israel stop a chur leis an Bhamáin agus Scotland agus an Foréigean agus clí leis an Foréigean a stoppe. Mar aon lei sin be míad ag caint faoi cuasaí Gallagher go háirithe ag géirigh praissanna go háir íslú agus níos mó dhéanamh ó thaobh an Capital Union mar a deirtear agus a lán nithe eile a bheith faoi capall le going agus tariffs agus gacéine faoi sin. Is féidir leite sin a Hortatónia. Slán go fáile.
Estamos em direto, não é?
Dar passo fixo. Dar passo fixo. Penktoji kolona kelia galvą.
Bom, muito bom dia. Queria, no arranque desta reunião do Conselho, transmitir-vos que se trata de uma reunião muito importante, na qual teremos a oportunidade, mais uma vez, de reiterar o apoio da União Europeia à Ucrânia, de o fazer no contexto em que continuaremos a tomar decisões que visam reforçar as capacidades da União Europeia como um todo e de cada um dos seus Estados-membros na área da defesa, projetando investimentos nos próximos anos que, de alguma maneira, são também uma ligação com o ponto principal da agenda, que é a competitividade e a alavancagem do nosso mercado interno. Efetivamente, a indústria da defesa terá também aí um papel principal, porquanto, como tenho já dito noutras ocasiões, nós devemos encarar este reforço do investimento como isso mesmo, como um investimento e não apenas como um aumento da despesa. Isto significa ter mais atividade económica, ter mais capacidade de inovação, de investigação, de criação científica, de desenvolvimento tecnológico, de criação de indústria, de emprego qualificado e, obviamente, depois também de trocas comerciais. Que a Europa e os seus Estados possam, entre si, ter maior capacidade produtiva e comprarem produtos da área militar, da área da defesa, uns aos outros, com isso logrando alcançar mais autonomia, mais capacidade interna no nosso mercado. Do ponto de vista económico, teremos ocasião mais uma vez de reforçar os mecanismos que são inadiáveis de simplificação. A Europa perde muita competitividade no contexto internacional por excesso de regulamentação, por uma complexidade muito grande nos processos de licenciamento, nos processos de relação entre os cidadãos e as empresas e as respectivas administrações. E isso é hoje um ponto consensual à volta da mesa do Conselho, mas que tem que ser concretizado em decisões, a começar nas próprias instâncias europeias. Ainda ontem tive a ocasião de dizer no Parlamento Português, nós precisamos de retirar complexidade às decisões e ao ordenamento jurídico europeu e depois também precisamos de não acrescentar, como acontece, por exemplo, em Portugal, complexidade quando transpomos para a ordem jurídica interna muitos dos instrumentos legislativos europeus. Em segundo lugar, é muito importante que a Europa não se atrase mais na salvaguarda de princípios que são fundamentais para ter capacidade de ser competitivo do ponto de vista económico. E um deles é termos um mercado energético comum, com acesso à energia mais barata e de uma forma também mais autónoma face ao exterior. A esse propósito, creio que conseguiremos ter nas conclusões uma referência específica às interligações, que tem sido um cavalo de batalha de Portugal, deste Governo e também dos governos anteriores, mas este Governo com especial ênfase, porque também aí temos que passar das palavras aos atos, não vale a pena estarmos sempre a reiterar a necessidade de termos uma política comum, de termos uma política de formação de preços comum, de baixarmos esse custo e depois não criarmos as infraestruturas que verdadeiramente o podem potenciar. E no caso português, no caso da Península Ibérica, já passaram 11 anos desde que Portugal, Espanha, França e a Comissão Europeia subscreveram, assinaram compromissos para acrescentar capacidade de interligação, nomeadamente do ponto de vista elétrico. E nós continuamos a achar que é viável atingir até 2030 pelo menos a possibilidade de haver uma capacidade de transição de 15% da nossa capacidade elétrica com a Europa. Hoje andaremos na casa dos 2-3% dessa capacidade e é absolutamente imperdoável se continuarmos a contemplar este assunto e não o tratarmos. A Europa tem outras interligações que são necessárias, mas neste caso, naturalmente, que nós colocaremos em cima da mesa esta, que é de facto muito importante e que, além do mais, contribui também para um outro objetivo, um objetivo de sustentabilidade, porque no caso da Península Ibérica, quer Portugal, quer a Espanha, apostaram muito do seu investimento nos últimos anos na produção de energia renovável, o que acrescenta não só maior capacidade produtiva para baixar o preço, mas também energia mais amiga do ambiente. Depois teremos ainda a oportunidade de estar com o secretário-geral das Nações Unidas e, portanto, podermos também fazer uma análise geopolítica mais alargada, nomeadamente avaliando o estado em que o sistema multilateral se encontra, e ele de facto encontra-se muito ameaçado por várias razões. É preciso reinventá-lo, é preciso também que no quadro das Nações Unidas possa haver mais agilidade e maior consequência nas decisões, quer da Assembleia Geral, quer do Conselho de Segurança. Há muito que temos sustentado, e eu próprio disse na última reunião da Assembleia Geral das Nações Unidas que o Conselho de Segurança é hoje um órgão infelizmente inconsequente, porque não é capaz de desbloquear situações em que os seus membros têm opiniões divergentes. A regra da unanimidade, ou pelo menos o direito de veto, muitas vezes bloqueiam que esse órgão possa ter uma intervenção mais concreta e mais eficaz no terreno, e teremos ocasião finalmente ainda de abordar, ainda que de uma forma muito embrionária, os princípios de discussão que mais lá para a frente, para meados do ano,
Gracias.